They're fake. They're definitely fake. Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Who can replace Paul Pogba? How will Manchester United do it in the summer? Get involved. Also got the latest Manchester United transfer news and normal news for you as well. But look, no live show tonight. Unfortunately, I'm out, but there'll always be a show on an evening for you and there's a lot to get involved in. So let's start off with the latest Manchester United news. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been talking from Marbella, which is where we're on this sort of winter break thing. Lot of happy people, lot of smiley faces. Lingard, Dalot, Bruno, everybody looking happy. Let's forget that we've had a crap season. I'm happy with that. Let's give them a second chance. I'm a big one for second chances. Now or never, do or die, whatever cliche you want to throw out, they've got an opportunity. Top four's not completely gone. Beat Chelsea, it could be there. Still in the Europa League. Decent players to come back. By all means, smile, do high fives, do a little bit of dance. Got no problem with that at all. We've had a bad season, but look, you can turn it around. It's your last chance for a lot of you. Some of you don't even deserve a chance, but look, you've got a chance. Let's do it. So, Ollie talking about Agallo. He'll go straight into the squad on Monday. He's not part of the tour, but Agallo will go straight into the matchday squad for Chelsea. So expect to see him. Maybe expect to even see him start. We can talk about that later in the week. Interesting update in relation to McTominay and Twansibi. There was this talk that McTominay could be playing against Chelsea. I wouldn't rule it out. I think Solskjaer should rule it out because what Solskjaer has said that he hopes to see them training with the squad later this week, and then next week it's about getting match fitness. So look, even if McTominay's training later on in this week, he's had no, to play him against Chelsea on Monday, I think it's a risk too far when you've got Matic, Fred and Bruno. So hopefully we won't see McTominay playing against Chelsea, although it's good to have him back. He also mentioned about the positivity around the group, especially with Bruno Fernandes, saying that there's things he can do that other people can't do. Look, what I would say about Bruno is you should have signed him in the summer, Ollie. We would be in fourth. I'm not going to say we'd be in third. Maybe we would be ahead of Leicester, but we'd definitely be ahead of Chelsea if we'd got Bruno in the summer. That's incompetence on the club. But you know what? Second chances, at least they got him in January. And talking about second chances, let's get into the crux of the show. Jack Grealish on the left is now considered to be Manchester United's main midfield target in the summer. Paul Pogba, as we've said, as many people know, surely he's going to leave in the summer. 2 years left on his contract. United's last real opportunity to get decent money for him. The power now goes to Pogba and Real Madrid and Raiola, unless we can get him to sign a new contract, which many of you wouldn't do anyway. I don't know about that. So how do you replace Paul Pogba with this board, with this manager, with the lack of spending that we believe we're going to make? Well, look, let's try and find a positive solution to this because, sound bites about it being an important summer from Woodward and all this lot. We've heard it all before. It's like that Madonna song. We've heard it all before. We have heard it all before. So let's look at this realistically and let's look at how a competent director of football may come into Manchester United and solve this problem. Don't believe we're going to get a director of football. I'm just saying you or I could probably approach this far better than the people we've got running the football club because they've got no football knowledge. So look, maybe they'll watch, maybe they'll take a few tips from this. I doubt it. But maybe they'll go and get a director of football. That would help. The first thing you need to look at is Paul Pogba. What is Paul Pogba's value in today's market? I think we've done this so many times on this show. The value of Paul Pogba is somewhere between 100 and 150 million pounds. So let's say it's 125. If we get 150, great. If we can get 150 million pounds for Pogba, that's great. I think that's what we were sort of looking for last summer, but he had 3 years left on his contract. He'd had a relatively good season and he was 1 year after winning a World Cup. What has he done between last summer and this summer? Play a bit of basketball, hobble around with an injured ankle. He's not done anything. He's not done anything to increase the value. And you could argue, with a year left on his contract, it's factual, he's decreased his value. And he's not really done that much. From a United point of view, we need him to come back now or soon and do well. And then we hopefully can cling on to 150 million. But I think it could drop to 120. So if we get 120 million pounds for Paul Pogba, that, you would hope, goes into the squad to be spent because we want to keep Pogba. So if we can't keep him, if we get money for him, that should not be going to the Glazers or dividends or anything like that. That's somebody we want to keep. If they go, every penny of their fee should be available for transfers. And on top of that, I would say we've probably got, if you look at this, the average of net spends in the summer, it's around 60. We've probably got another 60 million pounds. So I'd say United have probably got around 180 to 200 million pounds. And let's not forget, we might sell somebody else. I don't know who would give us money for people like Matic and Lingard. I don't know. But if we could get a little bit of money, maybe we can push it up to 200 million. So what I'm going to look at is 200 million pounds for United and how we could spend that in a way that improves our positions. Now, CDM, central defensive midfielder, I don't think we're going to sign one. I don't. I think it's the most priority position, but I don't think we're going to sign one. So I'm going to start off with Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish is considered to be now United's number one target in the midfield. And he does tick a lot of boxes. And I don't know what you think, and we'll look in the comments and you can express your opinions. For a long time, it felt it was going to be James Maddison. What I'm hearing and what we're reading as well, a culmination of things. We're reading that it's going towards Grealish because, there's not a lot between Maddison and Grealish. What I've heard is that Maddison, United fan, wants to come to Manchester United, wants to follow in the footsteps of Harry Maguire, wants to go up to that next level, but United's issue is money, as per. And it's not even United's issue is money in a way that we don't want to spend money, we know that. It's more about how much you would have to pay for James Maddison when you've just spent 80 million on a centre-back from Leicester less than a year ago. They're never going to let you have him for anything less than 90 million. Now, 90 million is a lot of money for James Maddison when you can get Grealish, I believe, for about 50 million. Maybe 60 if Villa stay up, but I think if Villa go down, 50 million. You drive a hard bargain with Villa if they go down because they need the money. So 50 million for Grealish, 90 million for Maddison. It's almost double. You're not getting Maddison for any less than 80 million because we paid 80 million for a bloody centre-back. So, and he's about to sign a new contract, that's the rumour. So I actually agree. I prefer Maddison to Grealish, but it's fine margins. It's quite close. I think Grealish this season, when you look at what he's done in a Villa team, and let me just tell you his stats, he's got 9 goals and 7 assists in a team that's, and his stats are as good as Maddison. I think he's more physical than Maddison. I think he's more of a fighter than Maddison. And I think he's more of a leader than Maddison, just because of the circumstances of his career. Championship, relegation threatened Premier League side, still performing. So, look, I think Grealish would be a decent signing for United. I'd probably still just about prefer Maddison. But I think even I would say 90 million for one, 50 million for another. We need to spend money on more than one position this summer. If we only needed one signing, I would go Maddison, but we don't. We need 3 or 4. So it's got to be Grealish as far as I'm concerned. And that's 50 million of the 200 that hopefully we've got spent, and you've got a midfielder in. One midfielder is not enough to replace Paul Pogba, but a player like Grealish can give us something. And what we do need as a replacement for Pogba is consistency. We need somebody who can be consistent and on the pitch a lot. And, Pogba always does pick up an injury or two every season. So that would be important in relation to that. Then I think beyond the Pogba hole in the midfield, which you could fill with Grealish, and we'll come back to, Ziyech at Ajax. I want to talk about him, but also I just want to talk about maybe other options from Grealish. I should have, let me just go back to Grealish for a moment before I talk about Ziyech. Donny van de Beek at Ajax is an option. Again, quite a good season for Ajax. He's shown his quality in a Dutch shirt, but also more importantly, I believe, in European football. He's shown that quality. I saw him playing against Chelsea back in the autumn. He did very well. I think the thing about Van de Beek is you'd probably pay the same money for Van de Beek as what you'd pay for Grealish, around 50 to 60 million. And of course, the issue is Jack Grealish is Premier League proven. Van de Beek ain't. So again, I would still go for Grealish, although I'd be very happy with Van de Beek or Maddison. So yeah, that's just wanted to cover that option as well. Onto the right wing. So look, actually, let's move past Ziyech for a minute. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho. So if you sign Jadon Sancho straight away, you're spending 90 to 100 million pounds. Add that on to Grealish, 150 is spent on 2 players. Add it on to Maddison, you've spent 200 million, just under, on 2 players, which is why you could never go Sancho and Maddison, because that's probably more than the budget is, and you still haven't got a striker. So United have got to box clever, I accept that. Could you get Grealish for 50, get Sancho for 100 and get a striker as well? Yes, you could, because I think the strikers we're looking at are probably 50 million. So if we've got 200 million to spend, and that is including the money we get from Pogba, a large proportion of it, then you could get Sancho, Grealish and a decent striker. And maybe, that's the ideal summer. That is the ideal summer. That's what a director of football would look at. That's the thing that Woodward should be looking at. 200 is our ceiling. We can get a striker, we can get a midfielder, and we can get Sancho for that. 200 million spent, 120, 130 back from Pogba, 70 million net spend. You've got Pogba out, you've got 3 quality players in. That's an option. That's something to be positive about. That's what an efficient football club do. That's what Liverpool did. Liverpool did sell Coutinho for over £100 million and spent that money well on 3 or 4 other players to build a squad. That's what Manchester United need to do with this Paul Pogba sale in the summer. And you know what? I would say, and this is probably controversial, but I would say this. We shouldn't even be thinking about giving Paul Pogba a new contract, because if you can sell Pogba and bring in 3 players that are going to improve us, it's a no-brainer anyway. I think we need to move past, and I don't know what you lot think about this, but I think we need to move past this, oh, Pogba's going to leave us, oh, woe is me. I think we need to go, look, Pogba can go with our best wishes. Wish him all the best. It's not a hate thing. He wants to go. I think he's right to want to go. It's about time we embraced the fact that we should let him go, get the money we can get for him, and get 3 quality players in. And I'm sorry, but Pogba out and Grealish, Sancho and a decent striker in, it's a no-brainer. If we keep Pogba, our budget could only be 60 million. Well, you ain't getting Sancho for that. You ain't getting... You know, you might get Grealish on his own, you might get a striker on their own, but to me, the Pogba deal can facilitate proper improvement, a proper rebuild, I suppose. So look, Sancho to Manchester United. Well, he's having a fantastic season at Dortmund. Jadon Sancho this season, he's got 15 goals and 17 assists after quite a slow start to the season as well. Doing fantastically well. It's common knowledge that Dortmund will sell Sancho in the summer. And it's common knowledge that there will be other clubs looking at him. Chelsea, Liverpool heavily linked to him. I think Real Madrid and Barcelona might have a sniff. And Bayern Munich may even have a sniff as well in Germany. But I think he will come back to the Premier League. And I think that the real threats for United are Chelsea and Liverpool. I don't see him going to Man City. Arsenal and Spurs can forget spending that sort of money. So United will be in the conversation. But how loud their voice will depend what happens over the next few months. We need Champions League football. Liverpool will definitely have it. Chelsea at the moment have an opportunity to get it. If we don't have Champions League football, I think Jadon Sancho's out of the equation. If we do, we've got to make our voice heard, because if you can bring Grealish and Sancho and a striker in, whoever the manager is next year, that United side is improving. I mean, can you imagine that? You've got McTominay, you've got Fred, you've got Bruno, you had Grealish in, you had Sancho in, you had a striker in with Martial and Rashford and James and the back 4 that we've got and De Gea, and suddenly you're building a squad. And that's what I mean. Pogba out the door and 3 people in, that's what we need to do, but the quality needs to be there. Now, interestingly, if you missed out on Jadon Sancho, what are the options? And that's where Hakim Ziyech comes in, because this is a player that surprises me how he's not considered a target for Manchester United, because 100 million for Jadon Sancho, 30 million for Hakim Ziyech. This is a signing I'm amazed United aren't all over. Now, we do need to be all over the Jadon Sancho deal, but if we don't get him, we shouldn't be crying in our hands. There is options out there. And if you bought Ziyech in for 30 million and Grealish in for 50 million, you've spent 80 million and you've got a right winger and an attacking midfielder. And you've probably then got room to go and get a centre defensive midfielder and a striker and still be well under a £200 million budget that you've got from the Pogba sale. So Ziyech in many ways, and I've seen United fans say, you know what, Sancho's a good signing, but is there a huge difference between Sancho and Ziyech right now? And is Sancho a player that we need right now? Sancho's a player that you bring in to win Champions Leagues, to win titles. We're not even established in the top 4 yet, and maybe that's a step too far for us. And we should go for it, but did we not make that mistake with Pogba 3 years ago? We were a Europa League side, we were nowhere near winning titles, and we went and spent £90 million on a world star in Pogba, and it didn't work out. So maybe Sancho would be the wrong sort of signing, because it would use a huge amount of our transfer budget that we could spend on a cheaper player who could do just as good a job in the short term, but also allow us to build, buy 4 players instead of 3. It's an interesting one. For me, I would take Sancho, because I think he would be here for 3 or 4 years at least, and he would improve here, and he would improve us massively. But I wouldn't be a problem with Ziyech, and I've seen Ziyech many a time in the Champions League, and again back in the autumn with Van der Beek against Chelsea, and he was superb. And I thought that was one of his most impressive games, even though they were robbed by a dodgy referee, weren't they? But he showed in both games against Chelsea, against Premier League opposition, that he can do it. Now, the interesting Ziyech is from there, from Chelsea and Arsenal, but United should be in that equation because we desperately, desperately need a right-sided midfielder, and he would do the job really, really well. So if we're not going for Sancho, this is the guy we should be looking at. And yeah, you could look at other options. There are other players out there. I mean, look, Leon Bailey at Leverkusen. There are good players out there. But I think Ziyech, like Bruno Fernandes, gives you something that other players won't. He is an experienced player. He's a player that's, very experienced in that Ajax side and in European football, and would come in and probably give something that a younger player's not. A bit of leadership, a bit of experience, which is what Bruno's going to bring as well. So I think the Ziyech one is quite interesting. But obviously, after the right winger, you move towards strikers, and this is where it does get interesting. Because, look, Timo Werner would be my number one choice for this. And I think Timo Werner will go for no more than 60 million, because I just think that's what he'll go for. And he's probably worth a hell of a lot more. He's probably worth 80, 90 million. But I think Leipzig will be happy to take 60 million for Werner. Now, the issue is going to be Liverpool are all over this. Chelsea are interested. And Bayern Munich will definitely be interested because it's a German player that they don't have. So signing Timo Werner is going to be very, very difficult. Very difficult for Manchester United indeed. But that is the sort of player we should be looking at. And he probably will end up at Liverpool, and he probably will massively improve Liverpool. But what he will give United, or any team that he goes to, is an ability to play down the middle, but also get involved in other positions. And I think fluidity in your front three is always important, and I think Timo Werner would give that. And whoever gets him is going to get a striker that's going to massively improve them. Whether he goes to Liverpool or Chelsea or Bayern Munich, he will improve them. And this is the sort of conversation, again, much like the Sancho one, United need to be involved in this. They need to be trying to get this player. I think Champions League football is going to be absolutely essential, like it is with Sancho, and if we haven't got Champions League football, I think we're not in the equation again. So that depends much on the next few months. But look, you sell Pogba for 120 million. You get 60, 70 million maybe in the budget. You've got around 200 million pounds. You buy Grealish for 50, 60 million. You buy Sancho for around 90 million. That still leaves you around 50, 60 million to spend on someone like Timo Werner. So it can be done. It can be done within that £200 million budget. And that's what Manchester United must be looking to do. Alternatives to Timo Werner. Look, I know a lot of you will be shouting at the screen. Lots and lots of options. I still think Moussa Dembele from Lyon is a decent shout as a striker to score goals. He has played in the Premier League with Fulham. He's been at Celtic. He's then gone to Lyon. He's scored goals there. I think in relation to Dembele, 19 goals and 6 assists. Werner's got 25 goals and 10 assists. So there's a difference in quality, and there's a difference in quality in the league between the French league and the Bundesliga as well. Werner's the better option. But if you can't get your better option, you need to get an option. As I said last night, selling Lukaku was the right decision. The issue was not replacing him. And I think somebody like Moussa Dembele could come in and do a decent job for United. And again, from Lyon, you're looking around £50 million. So my thing with Manchester United is, I'm going to be realistic about this summer. Whether it's Solskjaer, whether it's Pochettino, whoever's the manager, we've got to come out with 3 players. And I think anything more than 3 players is a dream with these owners. We are slow at doing deals. Even with that extra month in August, United are going to spend a lot of this summer doing the Pogba sale, and there's the Euros, and there's the tour, and that eats into time to do deals. I can't see United signing more than 3 players. So for me, it's a Pogba replacement, it's a right winger, and it's a striker. And we're going to come out of the summer saying we still need more. We will. I was surprised we came out of last summer still without a midfielder. That was a minimum. We didn't do it. So I still think we'll come out of this summer saying we needed to do more. And I think the position that will be sacrificed is the CDM. I don't think United are even looking at a CDM, even though I think it's the most fundamental position to replace. Because Matic, if he is here next year, there's no doubting that he's not quick enough. There's no doubting he's on the decline. McTominay, I still don't know whether he is a CDM. And Fred, I don't think he is either. We need a specialist centre defensive midfielder. It needs to be an Ndidi. Or even go and get a younger player like Samori. Or look at somebody else. But we desperately need... Or Thomas Partey would be perfect. He's got a release clause of about 45 million. You could sign Partey for 45 million. You could sign Grealish for 60, that's 100. You could sign Ziyech for 30 and Werner for 60, and you're still under 200 million. Or you could get Dembele, Ziyech, Partey and Grealish. I'd be happy with all of those. They're all players that are going to come to this club and improve it. That's what United... That's an efficient director of football. You know, forget Sancho, just get Ziyech. Get Partey, get Grealish, get Dembele. You know, 4 players... all going to improve us, all wanting to come to United and work and improve. That, to me, is what United should be looking to do. I don't think we'll do 4 deals. I think we'll do 3. And I think we've shown there that you can do those 3 deals under 200 million, whether it's Sancho, Grealish and Dembele, you know, or whether it's Werner, Ziyech, Grealish and Partey. It can be done. And I think the minimum will... I think it will be 3. But... I think Pogba is fundamental to that. And I, as a fan of Pogba, want to believe the rhetoric that's out there now that Pogba's leaving because the promises were not met and it's time for him to move on. I want to get into that car and ride that taxi. That's the journey I want to go on. I want to get in the mindset that Pogba's going. I want to get in the mindset that Manchester United are going to get a decent fee for him. And I want to get in the mindset that that fee will be used exclusively for signings with a little bit of added on of our revenue. Which, you know, if we do get 130 million for Pogba, we've only got to add 70 on and we've got 200. And I'm sure we'll sell a couple of other players to nullify that. So our net spend in the summer may only be 50 million, but it could be a total of 200. 200 million for a decent director of football is enough to solve 3 key issues for United. Replacing Pogba, right winger and a striker, and that improves us with the squad that we're building. So it's there, it's easy in a way that if you're competent it's easy because this money is there. You know, I would be saying as a director of football, I'll sell you Pogba, you give me the money for Pogba and give me 70 million, that's all I need. 200 million, I will go and solve problems that need solving in this club, and it can be done. And I think for many years we've said, oh, that squad needs 300, 400 million, and we've been like, where are we getting it from? This summer's the first summer in a long time where I think Woodward can start sticking his chest out and saying oh, it's going to be a big summer because he knows that Pogba money's going to come. And that Pogba money immediately allows you to spend 130 million and be like, look at me, I'm Billy Big Bollocks. When actually 130 million, it's just Pogba. Add a little bit more on. Let's start doing things. So get in the comments. I think, look, if I'm giving you 200 million, I'm Ed Woodward, right? I'm giving you 200 million. You're the director of football. How are you spending that? You might buy 5 players. You might sign 2. Get in the comments below. It's your job. It's your challenge. You're the Manchester United director of football with £200 million to spend. Pogba's out the door. Where are you spending it on realistically? Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll speak to you all tomorrow and thanks for watching.